closer than close, but close doesn't count. What's the amount? Never apply pressure for clout. I'ma bounce. Never accept doubt. Watch your mouth. Don't get it twisted. Forever with it. Proceed with the proper precision. I'll dare you to share my vision. Leaving room for you to choose. Never abuse your just due to make a decision. But look here, I'm trying to see what's happening. What's shaking, baby, what's popping, what's cracking. Stop the acting. I'm knowing you actually. Yo, what's up? Top of the morning, good afternoon, good evening. You know what I'm saying? Whichever applies to you, make it work how you will. You know what I'm saying? Stay hydrated. Yeah, I'm gonna break down the difference between persuasion and coercion, because I feel like some people got it twisted. You know what I'm saying? There is a difference. You feel me? I feel like persuasion is a part of the conversation naturally. You know, a part of any conversation, any entanglement, engagement, relationship. Persuasion is necessary because it's of a pure nature. You know what I'm saying? Not persuasion by wicked intent. You know what I'm saying? But persuasion as far as getting your point across, getting somebody to empathize or sympathize with you whenever there's a conversation about, you know what I'm saying, what needs to be felt, what should be felt, how you feel. You know, coercion is the opposite of that. Coercion is force, whereas persuasion is choice. You know what I'm saying? Without the choice to choose to be persuaded, you know what I'm saying? It's not persuasion. It's not of a pure nature. You know what I'm saying? Making a decision based off of the truth. You know what I'm saying? Persuasion should come in truth. Your attempt to persuade should come in truth. You know what I'm saying? There's a choice involved, a decision. Whereas coercion, you're being forced, therefore being stripped of your decision to decide. You have to, you know what I'm saying, forcefully submit to the coercion, or somebody coercing you to do whatever. Or, you know what I'm saying? So there's a difference. Coercion is like extortion. You know what I'm saying? Force, threat, do this, this, and that, or this gonna happen to you. You know what I'm saying? That should not be a part of any conversation. I don't think. But the way of the world is, there are people who use coercive tactics to get their, you know what I'm saying, their end goal met. Whereas I feel as though persuasion is necessary to build. It should be a part of conversation to come to a common ground. You see what I'm saying? In all truth and sincerity. Let me share a story with you, man. I came across a story not too long ago, and it was a dude who is new to this town, this area, right? And a couple of people ran down on him because they're not familiar with him, who are you kind of thing. And he was trying, the guy who was new to the town was trying to, you know, talk or persuade the men who had ran down on him with hostility to allow him to go to the person's crib he came to the town to go to. So in the midst of the man trying to break it down, like, look, I come in peace, the man said, hold up. You know what I'm saying? How can you persuade me of anything if I don't listen? You see what I'm saying? So the man coerced the man to stay because he wouldn't listen to be persuaded to allow the man to go where he was trying to go, you know? And that's another thing. When it comes to persuasion, listening is necessary. Mindfully listening, you know what I'm saying, will allow you to organize, interpret, and then respond based off the truth that you received, or any information for that matter. Mindfully listening, you will either be persuaded or not. You'll either be convinced or not. You know what I'm saying? But the choice is yours. When coercion is put into the mix, you don't have the choice to decide or not, to be convinced or not. It's either this way or no way. You know what I'm saying? And that should not be the way, in my mind. Because to all the heterosexual men out there, again, nothing against nobody's lifestyle, live how you live. I'm not the judge of your lifestyle, but I'm talking about the heterosexual men that attempt to get the good grace of a woman. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to persuade her to give you the green light or give you the consent. She has to feel what you're putting down to her as far as verbally, you know, to give you the green light, to feel comfortable enough to give consent. You have persuaded her to do so. If your mouthpiece decent, you know what I'm saying? If you got, like, you know, something to say to her. You see what I'm saying? Where it becomes a wrong thing or evil thing is, instead of allowing her to give you the green light, give you that consent by way of pure persuasion, you're now forcing her, you know what I'm saying, to do something against her will before she had a decision to decide, or opportunity to decide, you know, to make a decision. So if you don't see right there's a difference between persuasion and coercion. I don't know what to tell you beyond this point. And the reason I wanted to bring it up and break it down, you might ask, you know what I'm saying, is because I feel like people get it confused when it comes to persuasion, believing that persuasion is attempt to deceive, to mislead. Now, you could be persuaded based on the intentions of the person persuaded you, or that is persuading you. You could be persuaded to do something in a negative way or go in a negative direction or be led astray. That's why mindfully listening is very important, and knowing what you want is very important. You know what I'm saying? And you won't fall prey to somebody persuading you to do or go a certain way if you know what you want. But if you don't know what you want, persuasion is a negative thing to you, because not anybody is able to get into your ear to get you to go and do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not standing on nothing. What's your principle? What's your principle? You know that first before you start entertaining or considering somebody's persuasion or what they're trying to persuade you to do, feel, think, all that. Know what your standards are, what your principles are, what you hold dear. You know what I'm saying? And then from that point on, persuasion is a positive thing, because now persuasion is sincerity. You know what I'm saying? Let's take the negative persuasion off the table for a second, because that is a reality. And I'll probably touch on that a little bit later too. I'm talking about positive persuasion. You know what I'm saying? Genuine, sincere, truthful persuasion. It becomes a positive, and it helps you build on the principles that you're standing on. You know what I'm saying? And whatever you're trying to manifest in reality, you know what I'm saying? It will only contribute to that. If somebody can persuade you to see it a different way, you know what I'm saying? Proceed a different way. You see? Very important. Do not accept anybody trying to coerce you to go a certain way or do a certain thing, you know? That's why I feel like to all my 90s babies out there, I'm a 90s baby. If you could think back, you know what I'm saying, when your family or whoever was jamming whatever music, or when you start jamming music and hearing it out around your city and stuff like that, the difference in the music in the 90s, why I feel like it's a golden age, you know what I'm saying? I'm not just being biased. If you listen to the music, you'll feel what I'm telling you. You know what I'm saying? It was more about love, more about, how a woman or a man might feel in love, how they are trying to get or captivate somebody to build on love. You know what I'm saying? When love goes wrong, what happens? There was like love of self-pride involved in the music. The music that was on the radio and the music everybody was talking about and stuff like that most people were listening to in their cars, it was more, that was the main thing, was love. You fast forward till now, it's still jamming. Don't get me twisted. I'm not that old head like, oh, the new music is all nah, it be jamming. But I'm talking about more so now, if you listen to music, that theme is not there no more. It's more coercive, if you will, Whereas before, in the 90s, it was about persuading her to feel you, persuading him to feel you, It was more so about that. Therein lies the difference. You could hear the music, how it was before, The difference between persuasion and coercion. That's not to say, now of course there's exceptions to the rule with the music on both ends. Like modern music now, there are people that are still speaking in that vein of love, and then whereas in the past there were people who were speaking against, love, who weren't as persuasive, who was more coercive. I get that, but I'm talking about the overall thing. If you think about it, to all my 90s babies, you know what I'm talking about. And there are exceptions as well, but persuasion, coercion. Persuasion, choice. Coercion, force. It should always be about choice. Always by choice, never by force. You see what I'm saying? Always. I don't believe solicitation is a bad thing, because that's a part of persuasion. Because everybody dialogues based in their self-interest, naturally. Before you identify who you are, what you identify as a part of, anytime you're in conversation, you're dialoguing for the sake of your benefit, self-interest. Naturally, you could say otherwise, you could disagree, but think about it, man. You wouldn't do things if you weren't getting something out of it, especially new acquaintances. I'm not talking about family. And in some cases that time too, but for the most part, when you're out in society, if you are trying to get an interview for a job, right? You sit down, you should be thinking, okay, how is it gonna benefit me? The wages might be low, but you're getting paid though, you know? So therefore, you're speaking to the possible employer based on your weight, what you trying to get paid, what you trying to persuade them to give you that opportunity to get what you feel like you deserve. But you're speaking in the term of self-interest. What can I get out of this situation? As they are as well, you know, but that's just the natural way of life. People are gonna speak or try to garner a gain based on their self-interest. Now, once that becomes self-interest and self-love, and then therefore love for whatever you identify as a part of, there's nothing that will conquer, you know what I'm saying, your desire to achieve on behalf of that tribe that you identify as a part of. You know what I'm saying? Because when the tribe raise, you raise. You know, it's not a selfish thing no more. You know what I'm saying? But back to the topic at hand, you're trying to persuade them to give you what you feel as though you deserve, so therefore persuasion is a part of the conversation. You see? Now, if you used to go up in there and try to bully them to give you da-da-da-da, now you're being coercive. You're threatening them to tell, you know, I better get, you know what I'm saying, $20 an hour, you up in there talking crazy. That's not going to be conducive to you achieving your end goal if you go in there like that. That's what any interview, you're trying to persuade the person to feel you, to choose, you know what I'm saying, your perspective. Do you feel what I'm saying? You're trying to get them to, you know, select you. Decide on what you got going on, what you're providing, what you're presenting. Persuasion is necessary, very necessary. You see what I'm saying? Solicitation is just that. You're soliciting something to get something, to gain something. Is there a negative version of solicitation? Yeah, as there's a negative to all things, you know, but solicitation itself has a negative connotation because what is attached to the word. What I think people visualize when they hear it, you know? It's the same with persuasion. It's something that you think about in a negative sense when you hear certain terms that makes you apply a certain feeling to it when you hear it, you know what I'm saying? If you feel like somebody's maneuvering in that way, oh, you trying to persuade me to da-da-da-da-da, she trying to persuade me to, you know, and then you got it's a negative ring when you say it out loud and it hits your ears, not knowing that it's a natural part, you know what I'm saying, of conversation. It's a natural part of our being. You see what I'm saying? You should seek to persuade in all you do. That'll be my advice to you, you know? I'm trying to persuade you, you know what I'm saying, to feel that right there. Because it's important. Very important. Very important. Anything you got, you have to persuade somebody to get it if you didn't already have it. If you weren't born with a house, car, bread, you had to persuade. The monetary helped you because you did have to purchase it as well. You are a consumer. You know what I'm saying? You are a customer, but at the same time, you had to go in there and chop it up about what you're trying to acquire. You had to persuade them to let it be so, you know? You had to do that. Now, if you feel like you did the wrong thing by persuading them to get what you got, you got to take a step back and think like, okay, what kind of energy am I putting on this word? You know what I'm saying? What kind of energy am I putting on, you know what I'm saying, that way? You know what I'm saying? That movement. Because the reason I felt it was important to bring it up is because there's situations where people don't realize that persuasion is not insidious. It's not wicked. It's especially if the persuasion is coming from a sincere, truthful place, an honest place. Deception is very persuasive as well. That is very true. Again, knowing what you stand on, what your principles are, you will not succumb to the deceptive persuasion. It's not possible. Just like, I don't know if you've heard the saying, you know, a knowledgeable mind cannot be enslaved. Therefore, a knowledgeable person cannot be enslaved. You know what I'm saying? And this is not no shot to those before us because our ancestors were coerced into bondage, into slavery, being prisoners of war. You are now coerced and forced, you know what I'm saying, to work on behalf of. You see what I'm saying? But that's not to say once we've shaken the physical shackles that were on us, that kept us in bondage, you know, there are some that have been persuaded to remain slave-minded. They've been conditioned to be so. You know what I'm saying? they've been persuaded that that's the right way to proceed, the most moral way to proceed, the righteous way to proceed. So therefore, you have been persuaded to remain slave-minded. You're no longer being coerced until the police get involved, but now you're being coerced. But then, before that, you know what I'm saying, while you're in school, while you're, out in the world, being conditioned and influenced by different factors and things like that, the world is filled with persuasion, The world is filled with persuasion. Just try to avoid the coercion, Avoid that. Because there are coercive factors in the world as well. I feel like persuasion is the opposite of coercion. So that being said, every energy or force in the world, realistically now, I'm talking about as you go out and experience life has opposing forces, the opposite of each force. Positive, negative, love, hate, good, evil. You know what I'm saying? Persuasion, coercion. You know what I'm saying? And then you could decide which side you slide to with what you employ. It's up to you. You know what I'm saying? Because when it comes to submission, and check out one of my later videos about submission, you have to be persuaded, you know what I'm saying, to submit, which means you have mindfully listened, you considered what was being said, you soaked it in, you organized it, processed it, interpreted it, and now you're responding with your submission if you feel like it's a worthy cause to submit to, a worthy cause to submit to, a worthy relationship to submit to. If you felt that way, you were persuaded to submit. And you should receive benefits from that submission. Let me say that too, because somebody could persuade you of a lie as well. In my mind, I don't believe a lie is a lie until you believe it. And I feel like people are gonna disagree with that, but it's not a lie. If you know the truth and I come and tell you, you know my name, and I come and tell you what my name is, but you know that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? I attempted to deceive you, but it's not a lie. It's not, solidified as a lie because you didn't believe it. Now, if I come to you with something you weren't privy to, I broke it down to you, and I'm lying to you, and you believe it, you soak it up. You know what I'm saying? You step with that. I have lied. That's a lie. I have persuaded you to believe a lie. You see what I'm saying? But that's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Feel free to disagree. But again, when it comes to submission, persuasion is definitely important in a sincere fashion for both parties to be benefited. You see? It's very important. Coercion, on the other hand, destroys that potential relationship because with coercion comes resentment. If you're forced to do something, you're going to resent the person that forced you to do it as well as what you were forced to do. You're going to resent that. Why? Because you were not left the ability to decide. It's almost like somebody's insulting your intelligence because they're forcing you to do something before you had an opportunity to decide. Who wouldn't get mad about that if you have any kind of pride in yourself or for yourself? Who wouldn't get mad about being forced to do something before they had an opportunity to decide? That's why I feel like coercion should never be a part of anybody's equation. When you're conversing, when you're trying to come to a common ground, build something, all that. You should never try to coerce anybody to do a damn thing because that's not the way to go. You feel what I'm saying? But persuasion, on the other hand, if your prowess, your ability, your aptitude to persuade is not up to par, your ideas will never become plans. You'll never be able to set in motion a process to achieve what you're trying to persuade others, you know what I'm saying, to see that you need. You see what I'm talking about? It's very important. Very important. Now again, let's go to the negative side. Those who attempt to persuade and deceit, you know what I'm saying? You're really going to drive yourself insane because if persuasion is not coming from truth, you see what I'm saying? Your expression will not be stable or consistent. You get what I'm talking about? Let me break that down further. If I come to you and tell you I'm doing this, I'm living like this, I'm handling, all this, and in time, if we spend enough time with each other, with building a relationship, a rapport, not only are you going to need to see with your eyes manifested the things that I've been trying to persuade you of, you know what I'm saying, my lifestyle and stuff like that. When I express to you again, to expound on what lies I've been trying to persuade you of, the story is going to now be inconsistent. And a man should always remain stable no matter the circumstances. You know what I'm talking about? You should always remain stable. That's a quality of a man that should never be compromised. Your stability, your consistency, being a man. So if what you persuaded her to believe is now inconsistent because nothing is being manifested, every time you break it down again, it's different now. That's what persuasion and deceit will get you. Just keep it real with yourself. Keep it real with all who you're attempting to persuade, converse with, build with. You know what I'm saying? Keep it real, because you can only provide what you can provide. Don't lie and say you can provide A, B, and C, and it's not in you to provide A, B, and C. Because there's going to come a time where you got to produce what you said you're going to provide. You got to produce it. It has to be manifested. And if it isn't, she going to realize you was not on the up and up. And it's a done deal. It's over with. You can't persuade her with nothing, bro. Y'all know that song, man, when a woman's fed up. Why was she fed up? Because you persuaded her in deceit. Your persuasion was laden in deceit. That ain't the way to go, I'm telling you. Because that leads to defeat of the relationship, you know what I'm saying? Of any kind of rapport, you know what I'm saying? It's not necessary. Not necessary. Persuade for the green light. When it comes to men and women's interaction, you know? Or whoever, whatever you seek to get involved with, whatever you're trying to develop or cultivate, you know? Be persuasive, but also be genuine in your persuasiveness, your persuasion. Be genuine. Be consistent. Be sincere. Because I assure you, persuasion is not a bad thing. Everything you got today, you persuaded, somebody who had it before you had it, who could offer it to you for you to have it. You have to persuade them. Whether you believe it or not, you might see it a different way, but you have to persuade them to bestow what they gave to you, what you received. And as you're building your own, once you get your own, the support that's going to be necessary, the submission, you know what I'm saying, to that that building, you know what I'm saying, that process, you're going to have to persuade people to feel what you feel about building it, what you feel is necessary to cultivate it. You see? And I'm telling you, be real with yourself. Be real with yourself. That's the first step. If you want to get out here and tighten up your persuasion skills, first start by being honest with yourself, knowing your principles, knowing what you stand on. I'm going to stress that. I'm going to always say that because that's necessary. If you don't have nothing you standing on, you know the saying, bro, you going for everything. You're going to go for everything because you're not standing on the damn thing. You see what I'm talking about? So before you tighten up your skills in persuasion, know what you're standing on, know what you want out of life, know what your principles are, know what you won't compromise, And then if there comes a time when somebody's trying to persuade you to build on that understanding for your betterment, you know what I'm saying, submit to that persuasion in all sincerity for the sake of your self-improvement. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't let nobody coerce you to change your understanding before you had the opportunity to understand why you needed to change your understanding or grow your understanding or develop or evolve your understanding. Don't be coerced to do so, because premature movement leads to pitfalls, setbacks. If you move before it's time to move, before you're prepared, setbacks. Because what's going to happen is going to happen. Either you're prepared for it or you're not. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. It's going to come to you. Hardship is going to come to you. If you spent your time not preparing, procrastinating, staying stagnant, not feeding your mind to develop a higher understanding or evolved understanding for self-improvement, not like anybody's way is the way. And if you don't know enough about this topic, then you're not. You know what I'm talking about? Wherever in your life will help you improve your understanding to better your position. That's what I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying? If you haven't prepared, you know what I'm saying, to employ, you see what I'm saying, what you've been preparing for. When the situation or the hardship come, which will come, it's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Against your consent, against your not being prepared, all that, because it's coming anyway. Whereas if you prepare, your move would be closer to perfection. How you step would be closer to perfection. So preparation is necessary. How can you prepare? Self-love, invest in yourself. You know what I'm saying? Find or seek things outside of what you understand. Not just like random facts. And I hate people that be like know-it-alls, you know, like eggheads. They just like come and just spit out a random fact for no reason. And you be like, okay, what did that have to do with the conversation though, bro? I hear what you're saying. What does that got to do with anything though? You know, like, don't be that kind of person just searching for useless knowledge. I'm talking about knowledge that is applicable, that is practical, that is useful, that you can utilize. Study on that front, you know what I'm saying, for that. Things that you're not privy to. If you have your own apartment, study lease agreements, you know what I'm saying? Read material about housing situations and zoning, and you know what I'm saying? If you're starting your own business, you know, study things about that. You see what I'm saying? That's how you can begin to become prepared and tighten up your skills of persuasion. Understanding, knowledge, useful knowledge. Because tell me I'm lying. I feel like the school, the way the educational system is right now, they be feeding us a lot of useless information that we will never use in our life. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't get what they putting down to you, if you're not able to regurgitate it like they fed it to you, you'll fail the class and you won't be able to graduate, you know? You get held back, all this, but they feed you a lot of useless stuff that they say is necessary to graduate. To me, that's useless knowledge. That's impractical knowledge. In some cases. In some cases, some classes, you know what I'm saying? Some of the stuff they teach. You see? So, persuasion is definitely necessary and is a part of every conversation. Coercion should be avoided to the best of your ability. Do not employ coercive tactics or means or conversation, and don't be a victim of coercion if you can help it. If you can help it. And then to the women out there, stop being so sensitive. I understand that we're in turbulent times, like things are up and down. There's a lot of uncertainty, you know what I'm saying? Stop being so quick to play the victim when it comes to a brother attempting to persuade you to get on his program, get on his time, you know what I'm saying? Get with the program. You feel what I'm saying? Stop being so defensive, you know? And then you knowing what you want out of life, what you're capable of, what your potentials are, what your principles are, you know what I'm saying? Just, you know, consider, listen. And if it's not for you, let it be known. But all this, you know, because a brother coming and chopping it to you, he trying to get with you and he's a little persistent, you see he trying to persuade for the green light, and you feel like, oh, he's like forcing me to, no, nothing. If there's no physical force going on, you know what I'm saying? If there's no touching, grabbing, now that you should not accept that, of course. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you to like ease up on that. You should still stay vigilant, stay against that. But I'm talking about when it comes to brothers conversing with you, trying to persuade you. Stop being so victimized. Stop being so like, you know what I'm saying? Don't be like that. And then to the brothers too, you know, ease up if you feel like she not feeling what you putting down, you know? Because you shouldn't fear rejection. You should fear somebody wasting your time. Maybe not fear it. You should hate, you know what I'm saying? You shouldn't hate rejection. You should hate somebody wasting your time. Or the time wasted, not the person. You feel what I'm saying? I feel like you feel what I'm saying, so I'm gonna leave it right there. And persuasion is a part of conversation. I had to say that one more time. You know what I'm saying? It's a part of conversation. It's just a matter of how well you're able to persuade. You see what I'm saying? Because, like, again, that story I told you, when the dudes ran down on Buddy, you feel me? They were coming in with coercive energy. They stopped him in his tracks, impeded him from getting to where he's trying to get to in the town, you know? But his approach was persuasion. He was attempting to persuade them to let him pass. What was the problem? The forces were not, they were opposing. You see what I'm saying? They were opposing. And then the person with the coercive energy decided, like, hey, you can't persuade me if I don't listen. So he shut down his ability to mindfully listen. So now it's going to be a misunderstanding regardless, because he's coming in coercive energy anyway. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to let that marinate. Hopefully I said something that you can apply in your life. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you felt what I was putting down. If not, that's cool. I'm not mad at you. Live your life how you live your life. I'm not going to coerce you to feel me. You know what I'm saying? I would like to persuade you to do so. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, have a good day. Yeah.
Lately, my patience has been running thin. Let me ask you this. If I snap, have I sinned? It's in the eye of the beholder like beauty. Foolishly believing I'm weak, cause I proceed in peace. Now I seek to commandeer the peace I lent. Now it's hot like hell's pitch. Won't forgive, nor forget, or repent. Pray to who? Top of the food chain, not according to you. Why shall I subscribe to a paradigm you choose and be subdued? It's a lose-lose if you asking me. Firstly and lastly, never